Giant fans that have supported us for more than 30 years at Giant Stadium, for all those years in Yankee Stadium, and some of you even back to the Polo Grounds. This is for you. This is for you.
Listen to me. Okay? The rest of your life, man, nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it, because you did.
With the second pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Saquon Barkley, running back, Penn State.
And hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Giants Guys. This is John Fennelly, your host, and with me again, as always, Mr. Craig Santucci of NYGiantsRush.com. Craig, how are you today?
I'd like to start off by saying that if anyone's upset with us complaining today, you might want to turn the podcast off, because today is a day that we're all going to vent and get it off our chest, because there's a lot of things to talk about.
Yeah, that's true. And, it's getting to be like a broken record. Same story every week. Giants come out, somewhat competitive, have a chance to maybe get in the game, and then just give it away. It's not pretty. Reminds me of the 70s.
Well, I've got my own little axe to grind. I mean, the game's terrible, right? The transmission in my truck actually blew or crapped out, whatever you want to call it, after the game. So game ends at 12:30. I couldn't get a tow truck to 3 a.m., and I got home at 5:30 a.m., and it cost me $500 to tow my car down to South Jersey. And all I could think of, and all I could think of was, what a terrible way the game ended. Because, like you mentioned, they were kind of in the game a little bit here and there, and there were some opportunities, and there are some players on this team that aren't going to get noted for having a good game, just because of the glaring mistakes. It's rinse, it's wash, rinse, and repeat. It's the same thing every week.
Correct. And, the turnovers, especially by the quarterback, that doesn't help. I mean, the strategy stinks. The defensive strategy especially stinks. And if the quarterback's giving the ball away and the defense is giving up big plays, that's just probably the worst combination you can have. And throw in the fact they can't run the ball anymore.
All right, well, Lee, let's start off with the quarterback, because I got to get it out of the way. Because it's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. You started this kid after 3 games. Everybody was happy with what he was doing. I don't see any progress, and I'm tired of people telling me he's a rookie, he's a rookie, he's a rookie. One, ball security is something they teach you in middle school, okay? It's becoming more than just a habit, okay? And he has to learn. And if he's not being taught by the quote-unquote quarterback guru, Pat Shurmur, well, who's going to teach him? Because the habits are now starting to mount. And I'm not killing Jones, because I like Jones, but he's not being coached up. Whether he's throwing the ball into double or triple coverage, whether he's holding the ball too long, whether he's fumbling, like, he's supposed to be slowly getting better. But I get that he's a rookie, but ball security isn't something that you learn in the pros, So
no.
There's got to be something that can be done, because right now it just feels like they've thrown him in there. And they're treating him like he's Eli, like he's been around for 16 years. Like, He's a rookie quarterback, Shurmur. Wake the hell up and coach the kid up, because you're on top of the fact the kid is taking so many hits. It's despicable that they would let their starting quarterback, potential franchise player, be a lead blocker on any play in the NFL. Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, whoever, pick whoever you want. Why is our quarterback the leading blocker? And by the way, got totally tattooed on the play. Totally tattooed.
He got hit pretty hard, yeah.
So beside the bad habits he's getting, beside the fact that defenses around the NFL have tape on him fumbling twice a game every game, now they know he's open field. Like he's open to be smacked because he's not going to slide and give himself up. He's going to dive in their head first. I'm going on record saying
why did he do that?
I don't know, and I'll say we're at 20%.
For a kid that smart, who's supposedly coached up by David Cutcliffe, why would you ever dive head first unless it was at the pylon?
Yeah. Well, the way you're going, you're really starting to narrow the percentage of him making it through the season. He has been sacked. He's the fourth in the NFL for the most sacked quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
He's second in the league for most fumbles at the quarterback position, and he's getting abused. And it's not just the sacks. I mean, you can't have your starting quarterback. This is the second time this season he has been the lead blocker on the play. I'm sorry, that's not what you have him here to do. That's not what you drafted him for. It's not what he does. And if he's not doing it, I don't care. Sit him down if you have to.
Right.
But that's the coaching staff. He is lining himself up for A, concussion, B, separated shoulder, dislocated shoulder. Like, it's just not necessary. Like, it's mind-blowing that our franchise quarterback is now the lead blocker in this half-ass Pat Shurmur offense.
And you know what? Just to get it's not off topic. It's part of the whole package. But they run an end around or a jet sweep or something like that. They run it once and it works. It always works. They never run it again. Why not?
Well, that'll lead into the second point you made. One is, of course, why are we abusing our quarterback? Do we want Eli back in the game? Because that's what you're going to get. Because the kid's getting crushed. The second thing comes down to your point that you made a minute ago about not being able to run the ball. Okay, let's just say that maybe Barkley's not 100%. And
he's not. He's definitely not.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a difference in the way he's running. He's not as decisive. You don't see that, that jump cut that he's known for.
Right. He needs to be able to go north-south, and he's not really a north-south runner. And he needs to learn how to do that. Just go straight.
So here's what people need to start grabbing a hold of and shouting out loud. A couple games ago, the Giants played Arizona, right? Rookie running back came in and ran all over the Giants, right?
Okay.
Exclusively because on every two downs that they ran the ball, what's his name? Kitchens pulled the guard and the center.
I mean Kingsbury.
Sorry, not Kitchens. Right, Kingsbury. Sorry.
Yeah.
He pulled the guard and the center 2 of 4 plays. Monday night, you couldn't get Barkley up the middle. And let me tell you, it was nauseating watching them continue to hand the ball up the middle where there was no hole. It was as predictable as comes. They're just going to hand him the ball and he's going to run up the gut. All they needed to do, John, was pull the center or pull the guard or both and get Barkley on the outside. I am not an NFL coach and I can't be this smart. But whether it's a pitch toss, whether it's a jet sweep, put Barkley on the outside and pull the damn center or guard. Like how do we have to sit week after week and watch this putrid sophomoric offense?
Here's the issue. Your offensive line, the center has been playing very poorly, and his agent actually reached out to us at USA Today and wanted to know why we were bad-mouthing him.
Wow.
John Jalapeno. We're not bad-mouthing him. Actually, none of it was an original opinion that I wrote. Okay? It was either something someone else wrote or something that came from Pro Football Focus. But I never said, this guy should be, only I said he should be replaced because the other center, played well last year. Okay,
Yes.
So if one guy's not getting it done, you got to switch off to the other guy, which they're going to do this week now because Jalapeno isn't practicing. I don't know what's wrong with him.
Well, that makes sense though, John, because you're as the fine reporter that you are, an analyst, you're looking at the data, you're listening to what other people are saying, and it's definitely a point of contention that he's not playing well, he's not getting push up front.
Right.
It's showing with Barkley. But
so he didn't practice today, Jalapeno. He has a bad hamstring. That's what it is. So most likely he won't play.
Okay.
So we'll get to see Pulley. So that's one part of the problem.
Yeah.
The other part of the problem is you got two guys who are really aged out, played a lot of football at tackle.
Yep.
Okay, they're gray muscle guys. You need some fresh blood there, man. They are getting spun around left and right. And that's one of the problems that Jones could make his own throw. I mean, but a lot of times he doesn't have time. And for him not to be able to get away from the rush, these guys must be coming hard and fast.
And they are. And it still goes back. See, today for me, the theme is how inept the plan is and how there's no in-game adjustments. Because when Solder is having a problem, the answer is to put Ellison on the line and let him hit, let him chip, or let him rub.
Yep.
And it's almost like he won't admit defeat. Solder's getting beat. Give him some help. Parcells did it. Fossil did it. Coughlin did it. I mean,
but those are guys who believed in two tight end offenses.
Yes.
The Giants don't have true two tight end formation.
Well,
right? What is that, the 12 formation? They don't have that because they want to use those guys as receivers all the time.
I'm with you, John, but please, for the love of God, I mean, we got guys like Conrad that's out there and Robinson that's out there. I don't care who you bring in. What do you call it? Hurt his ankle in preseason, they let him go. He was a good blocker. Simonson.
Right.
Listen, you got to let pride go. And you got to do what's right to make a difference. Nothing changes. I mean, you got to figure by halftime, you realize you can't run the ball up the middle. You got to adapt and try to get Barkley on the outside. What did they do? They finally got a screen pass that worked on the outside and went for 65 yards.
Yeah.
Because he's a little bit dinged up, he's not 100%. You got to put him in space. I just can't be the only one that sees this.
Well, that was something that I said. When Van Der Esch wasn't going to play, they needed to exploit. I think Sean Lee played in his place and played pretty well. He had a lot of tackles.
Oh, he was actually. I had a couple Dallas fans sitting next to me at the game.
Yeah, but he's not Van Der Esch.
No, but he was the top. But Lee was the topic of conversation because he balled out. I mean. He's a guy. He's a vertical guy. He goes towards the line of scrimmage. You put him in a passing situation, he can't handle it anymore. And he's injured all the time. But it just proves, when you invest in linebackers. In fact, and I don't want to get too sucked into the defense, but the top two tacklers for the Cowboys were Sean Lee and Jalen Smith. Right. The top two tacklers for the Giants were Peppers and Bethea. What does that tell you?
Yeah. Well, that's every week. Like I always said, the sign of a good defense is when the guy carrying the ball, your defense has 4 or 5 guys on him within 3 yards.
Yeah.
But the Giants, you're lucky you have one guy on you in 3 yards.
But let's not get sidetracked. How the heck do you fix this line? Because even that Pulley might make a difference, right? It's still scheme. It's still adjustments. They're just getting you put on the all 22. You're just watching these guys. It's so predictable. I mean, Ingram is missing block after block after block. I can't understand why they can't figure some of this stuff out. Dallas came hard and fast. So you got to put in bubble screens. You got to put in sideline screens and draws. We don't do anything.
No. And, they don't once the game starts, I keep saying it. And I think this has a lot to do with the head coach calling the plays when he doesn't know how to be a head coach. Okay? And he just doesn't, he can't handle the whole nut, the whole gamut. Okay? So he loses track of where he is. Okay? Something happened, you need to manage the game. You need to manage the team and the sideline when you're the head coach. You can't be concerned about, okay, it's 3rd and 5, let me get my card out. No. You should have another guy doing that, and then if you don't like the play calls, you can override them. Because you know who does that? Bill Belichick. He does that. Pete Carroll does that. All right? Guys like that. Ron Rivera. I said, I don't want to run here. I want to pass. So get me a pass play. You know what I'm saying? You don't sit there and you play offensive coordinator when your team is crumbling around you. You need somebody at the top of the pyramid to make sure that everything's running right, and that's the problem with this team.
I just want someone that I wish I could be in the room, and I actually we have some ballsy Giants beat writers sometimes, maybe he's not a beat guy. I don't know if you want to call what's his name from ESPN, Jordan.
Yeah, he's a beat guy. He's there every day.
Yeah, so he'll ask him some pretty poignant questions. He's not afraid. Someone, for the love of God, ask him.
He's also an Eagles fan, so he doesn't really have a lot invested.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, and the guy before, put it this way, and the guy, just so in case we're exposing people right now.
I don't care because right now everybody's in play as far as I'm concerned, and even me, I'm in play.
Well, here's the thing though. You're a Giants fan, okay? Listen. Not only is...
But I'm an objective Giants fan, Craig.
Yeah, but think about what we had to go through, though. We can be objective. Jordan is an Eagles fan, and before him was the other guy who was a Cowboys fan.
Dan Graziano?
Yeah, so So for the last 10 years, we haven't had any Giants fans covering the team.
That's not true.
Who?
You've got a lot of Giants fans covering the team.
Oh, well, yeah, okay.
The main guys, I'll tell you right now. I don't know about Ralph. I think Ralph's really a Jets fan. But Paul Schwartz and Tom Rock, Paul Dottino.
Yeah, okay.
These guys have been around for 20 years and more. Paul's been around 30 years.
Yeah, Gary Myers.
These guys are big Giants fans. And they cover the team, and that's why they're well received. But they also, when the emperor has no clothes, they're going to say he's naked.
Yep.
Okay, that's what we do too.
Yeah, because I'm struggling with, and this is no shtick, no anything. I'm finding it really hard to believe that any head coach, and this goes for, the whiz kid, for the Rams, right down to Belichick. I find it hard to believe that there's a coach out there in the NFL that would take a quarterback in the first round and allow him to be a lead blocker in any situation.
No,
I know
to expose him like that is so foolish and so irresponsible.
And I don't think it's getting enough attention. It screams.
I didn't even write about that. I saw that and I was like, wow, the kid's tough. Being an idiot that I am and not realizing that, why would you do this? He could end up with a broken collarbone or something.
That's why I'm here, John. That's why we're partners, right?
You're true. That's true, man.
Because, when it happens, everyone's like, oh, wow, look at Jones. I'm screaming, what are you doing? You can't let your quarterback be a lead blocker. And by the way, everyone should go back and watch the play. He got flat out tattooed. And I mean full-blown, lit up like a pinball machine. At that moment, anything bad could have happened. And you'd have to ask yourself, why? Why would you do that? I don't see Russell Wilson as a lead blocker.
No.
Have I seen Favre get out there and mix it up with guys? Yeah.
But that's Favre. He's a kamikaze. He's crazy.
Exactly. It's Brett Favre, not your rookie quarterback. We're trying to improve.
He'd still do it today if you wanted him to.
Yeah, exactly. Favre, yeah, without a doubt. So I keep asking myself, and I'm making these mental notes, again, in the second quarter, end of the second quarter, Shermer calls a a screen pass for Barkley, right? The concept of a screen pass is to let the defensive line in. You throw it over their head, you're off to the races. There's center screens, and then, of course, there's like bubble screens. Well, they run like a flare, okay, which is like a semi-screen. Like Barkley kind of, as a safety valve, kind of wings out like a wheel route, and then Jones just throws it over the defensive end's head into Barkley, and down the sideline he goes. Well, the problem is that Dexter Lawrence, not Dexter Lawrence. What's the defensive end's name for Dallas?
DeMarcus Lawrence.
Sorry, DeMarcus Lawrence is so fast, okay, that he's in on top of Jones before he could even let the ball go out of his hand.
Right.
And literally, it's a flawed play. Like, the only thing that you needed to do was have a tight end in to chip Lawrence to make the screen work. Instead, they give Lawrence a free rush.
Correct.
And he almost tattoos Jones, and the play goes south.
There's never, ever, that I can see, a strategy to double cover a defensive player. Why is that?
Johnny was unblocked, not single blocked.
They left him unblocked because they wanted to suck him in.
Yeah, but he's too fast.
But he's just too fast. The play didn't develop, and then, you know what happened next.
And I'm asking myself, okay, we could probably get away with this. All they needed to do, literally, people, understand, is you can let Lawrence in and suck him in so you could throw the ball over his head. All they needed to do was have Ellison put a shoulder on him. It's called a rub or a chip.
Yep.
All they needed to do was a 0.2 of a second delay. That play goes for 30 yards.
That's it.
But I am not the only one that can understand this stuff. How is this guy making millions of dollars as the head coach of the New York Giants in the biggest market in the country, and he thinks that he doesn't have to do anything to Dexter Lawrence? Like, why? Because they run at half speed in practice?
Yeah.
I mean, how was this guy going to keep his job? He is lost.
Let's just think about Ron Earhart in Super Bowl 25. You had Bruce Smith, right? And you had Jumbo Elliott. Now, he knew that Jumbo could not handle Bruce Smith's speed rush, and he didn't. If you remember, Jeff Hostetler was almost a corpse.
Yep.
Leon Seals planted him, and he managed to rise from the dead and play again. But, Smith, what the idea was, well, we don't want him rushing the passes, so what are we going to do? We're going to put him on his heels. We're going to let Jumbo roll him in the running game. We're just going to run at him. By the second half, he's going to be exhausted because he's going to be getting pushed on the ground all the time. And he's going to have to work to get around a charging lineman instead of a retreating lineman.
Yep.
So why don't people think of these things these days? Why isn't, even if it's a guy like Mike Remmers, why don't you just have him run off right tackle? Boom. Have somebody run. It doesn't care who. It could be Gallman, could be Barkley. Just run a couple of plays and knock the starch out of some of these guys so they're not teeing off on you all the time.
And that's what I was alluded to before. Look, it wasn't working. I don't know how many carries Barkley had.
14 for 28 yards.
14?
For 28 yards.
So those 14 carries, I'm pretty sure 12 of them were right up the gut. I mean, it
Between
wasn't
the tackles,
there. Yeah, it wasn't there. So why not toss him the ball on the outside, pull the guard? I mean, Zeitler is a specimen, okay?
He was roughing some people up, and Will Hernandez was very feisty, but the other guys, they're trying to stay on the field. They're trying to stay upright.
When you watch the Eagles, you remember Jason Peters?
That's not a good sign.
No. Remember Jason Peters, the tackle for the Eagles?
Sure.
Jason Peters, at 33 years old, could still get out in front and pull. I mean, as a tackle. I mean, if we can't put a pull in the game, we got wrong coaches, wrong players, wrong everything. All they needed to do was try it one time. Let's pull Hernandez. Let's pull Zeitler.
Right.
Get him out front and get Barkley in space. He doesn't need a lot of space. He just needs some,
Anything's better than just running the ball straight up the middle of the field and hoping that, somebody on the other team falls down and you can get over them or get past them.
So, and this will be my last point on this whole,
You sure?
offensive scheme. Maybe not. Yeah, I'm probably lying to you. There was a point in time, and we can talk refs too if you want. And the whole.
I don't want to talk about the officials.
Okay, so and there's a point in time where the clock is running down. The Giants are ready to call a play. The refs are like, let the Cowboys sub 3 guys in, okay, without calling a delay of the game penalty. Like literally stop the clock so they could sub. Now, putting that aside, that there was some kind of scam going on there, that they didn't call a delay of game penalty and they let them like literally have the carte blanche to sub. They bring in a heavy package. The Giants are on the, I don't remember. I'll have to look up exactly what the line was. 12 maybe? They bring in a heavy package, right? Now, the game is delayed. Everyone in the entire stadium is watching these 3 big guys run in the game, and they take off the DBs. They put a heavy package in or a goal line package in to stuff the run. What do you think the Giants do?
They run right up the middle.
Run right up the
Of course they do.
goddamn middle. I mean, it's like it makes no sense. You just watch them sub in 3 huge bodies to stop the run. You can't run an audible there. You can't figure anything else out. You run right up the middle, and that play, I think Barkley lost like 3 yards.
Well, he got hit. Yes, I remember that. He got hit right away.
Yes. It
in the backfield.
Made no sense. Next play comes. The heavy package goes off. They bring in 5 DBs. What do the Giants do? Pass.
Naturally.
It makes no sense. I'm sorry. And I don't want like this.
And
like
if you're out coached by Jason Garrett, that's pretty sad.
Well, yeah, for a smart guy that Garrett is, Princeton grad,
he's not really a very good head coach.
Yeah, he's challenged on the head coaching side. But listen, Shermer is just out-coached every day. And if he's going to stay in this role, which I do not approve of, but if he's going to stay in this role, you better wipe the slate clean and let him pick his own offensive coordinator and go find some crazy hungry defensive coordinator that doesn't mind when you're 2-7 to let guys pin their ears back and go.
Yeah.
Because right now, this is an abomination. The play calling is an abomination.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I heard today. It's not even a rumor. It's just a suggestion.
Okay.
Joe Beningo at WFAN, who, I'm not crazy about because,
Mr. Smartphone?
Yeah, he doesn't have a smartphone. He doesn't have email or anything else. He's like a Luddite, this guy.
That was sarcasm.
Yeah. But anyway, he said he could see the Giants' next coach being somebody like Mike McCarthy, which I would welcome in a second. I thought that was a good suggestion.
I'm on the fence with that. Why do you like him?
He's an established head coach.
Okay.
He knows how to organize a team as a head coach. He calls his own plays, but he doesn't necessarily have to. He understands defense. He won a Super Bowl. He had many, many winning seasons. Okay, and he didn't really win a lot of games without Aaron Rodgers. If Rodgers went down, but still,
that was what I was going to ask you. So why?
But still,
do you think
he's the kind of guy that comes in and organize. You need something organized, and you need somebody who can run a game plan and make adjustments within the game.
I agree with all of that. Like, he's a professional coach. He knows how to make adjustments. My one, and I need you to kind of help me on this because I really don't have any answer. Whether they lose or they won, Green Bay's been competitive since the day the Packers, signed Rodgers, right?
Right.
Why do you think a guy like McCarthy got fired? I mean, because I'm always curious.
There's always this is how these things go. If you're in a job for a long time, and Coughlin ran into the same problem, except for Coughlin started to lose. You get too much power, okay? And the players become intimidated by that the coach can't be approached, and then some of the other assistant coaches who have other ideas, like in Coughlin's situation, it was McAdoo. McAdoo wanted to do certain things, and he wouldn't let him. He says, no, we don't do it that way. We don't do it that way. McCarthy had the same situation where he was. And, of course, Rodgers was like, we need to do some different things. We need to, expand a little bit, the playbook. And McCarthy's like, no, I make that decision. You don't. And who's going to win in that power struggle?
Well, evidently,
in that particular power struggle. Right. So they brought in a coach who's probably as young as Rodgers. I don't even know how old this guy is, Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, they could be brothers.
Yeah. And who do you think's calling the who last say there? Who do you think has the last say, the final say?
Rodgers.
Yeah. So that's the same thing going on in baseball. You don't want that established manager anymore because you want to have that collective effort from the organization. And that's why McCarthy is gone. That's why you're going to see some of these other guys gone. Some guys are just too powerful, like Pete Carroll will never be fired. Belichick will never be fired.
How old is McCarthy, and do you want a guy like...
Probably 50s, late 50s.
Okay, because, I wouldn't mind having a guy a little bit younger and a little bit less established. I wouldn't want him to bring that heavy hand here with the rookie quarterback. I don't know.
But look what the light hand is doing here.
Yeah, right.
You need somebody to come in and straighten some of these kids out.
Yeah, sure.
Because, first of all, they're accepting losing too easily. Because after every game, the answers are starting to become the same. It's all bleeding together. And that leads into a very, very bad mentality and culture. We have to play better. No kidding. What particular aspects of the game do you need to be better at?
Yeah, I'd love
That's
for a guy
what you
to
really
stand
need
up
to concentrate on.
I'd love for one of these guys just to stand up and say, I suck today. That would make me feel good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
just to acknowledge it.
Here's the thing that irked us, Dan and myself and some of the other guys at USA Today. When Blake Jarwin caught that pass, he scored on a 42-yard touchdown. He was running towards the end zone, and Janoris Jenkins almost wanted to tackle him and then decided not to and let him score. He lowered his shoulder, and then he just got out of the way.
Yeah,
Put his hand out.
Put his hand out, yeah.
Okay? And then Shermer kind of defended that. And I'm thinking to myself, I know how many head coaches for the Giants, almost every one, even Jim Fossil would have said that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
That would have been a cause for a benching. Parcells would have cut him.
Yeah.
Coughlin would have put him on the bench.
Belichick would probably, have him on waivers by the next day.
He'd get a bus ticket.
Yep.
See now, and Shermer's out there defending him. So what does that say? I can do whatever I want on the field, and my coach is going to stand by me. Jabril Peppers, he's a great guy. He's this. If I'm a coach, I don't want my players saying I'm a great guy. You think the Packers loved Vince Lombardi? They loved him in one way, but they knew they better walk the straight and narrow, or that love was going to turn to hate real fast. That just irks me, man. I'm sorry. You can't lead like that.
Well, listen, I saw the play, and you have to watch the replay to see how egregious it is.
He just went through the motions.
Yeah,
it's like he was playing flag football and he was reaching for the flag.
Like during the game, you really in real time, for one, Dak throws the guy a terrible pass. He picks up the ball basically off his shoelaces,
Yep.
and scampers down the sidelines. Ogletree can't catch him, which I wasn't really even sure he was running hard.
I don't know. I don't know how he got so open, but that's another story.
Yeah, and Jenkins sticks an arm out, and I started thinking that defensive guys are supposed to be cut from a different cloth,
Yep.
And they're supposed to have some pride. They're supposed to want to put their helmet under someone's chin strap. Like the defense is soft. I mean, and we were talking about coaching people up and what they're doing. I mean, listen, there's a handful of plays. I was listening to Carl Banks talk, and he was saying how Zimenez is holding his ground and does a great job, but he watches the ball carrier run right by him.
Yep.
He needed to leave his quote unquote zone or area and go make a football play.
I hate to keep going back to the 80s, but I was sitting at a game. They played the Eagles. The Eagles had a running back by the name of Wilbert Montgomery.
I remember him well.
And he was pretty good.
He was very good.
And he's running around left end. And I remember, because it was one of the first plays of the game, the Giants had no more than 7 guys tackle him within a yard. And he's running fast. This is a fast running back. To me, that's how defense should be played. You want to be in on the hit, and you're there. You follow the football, you want to be there on the hit. Gang tackling. Everybody was there. Harry Carson. I remember Harry Carson, tried to stand them up and wait for the other guys, stuff like that. Can't do that anymore, but hey, this is the mentality you should have, the kill the man with the ball mentality. They shy away from the man with the ball.
Yeah, it's really hard.
They don't even know where the ball is.
Yeah, it's really, really hard to find just, a football player.
This is where Landon Collins, he had his shortcomings, but at least he was there to make the tackle within 5 yards.
Because he prided himself on that skill. Like, he was like, hey, I'm going to do the best I can in coverage, but if that guy's in front of me, I got him.
And he does it as good as anybody.
Yeah.
He's doing it in Washington now. I mean, they stink, but nobody's going to notice. But if you're trying to run the ball anywhere in the box, he's going to get you. He's going to get you.
Yeah, you need football players.
So if you're going to get rid of a guy like that, you need to backfill that production. And of course, they didn't do it.
No, and what was my we can always go back and listen to the Giants guys in the old archives, and I always stand by my premise: you don't throw away football players because there's not enough of them. A lot of these guys play football for a living and get paid, and then there are a handful of guys that are just football players.
Explain what you mean by football players.
So the football player is the guy who understands what his job is, and he eats and sleeps being the best at that position. He is going to do whatever it takes day in, day out, off season, in season, to be the best he can. That's hard-nosed. That's a guy who's eating right, training, going to bed. And when it comes to Sunday, he turns it on because he wants to be the best player on the field. And if you ask him to do something that's not his job, he says, I'm next man up, I'll do it. Those are football players.
That's right.
Not
guys who live for the contact.
Yeah, the guy who knows that this is my job. My job is a downhill linebacker, filling this hole. I'm taking on a fullback, I'm scraping through, and I'm gonna blast this running back. Or I'm gonna jam this receiver at the line. When the ball goes up, I'm gonna try to knock it down. But if this guy catches it, I'm making a tackle. I'm not gonna try to horse collar him or try to muscle him down from top. I'm gonna wrap up and I'm gonna make a tackle. Just fundamental football. You come to play every day. I don't care what they do after that. But I'm getting paid to be a football player. So many guys are worried about their cleats and their hair and their watches and their socks and everything else they do. Just give me some football players.
Yeah, and I think they found one in Ryan Conley, and he got hurt.
Yep.
And this kid, Taifa, he could play a little bit. They don't have him on the field naturally because he's not a draft pick.
Hey, I think Zimenez has got it in him, but he's almost afraid to make a play. The defensive coordinator's got to say, hey.
Because of the lack of understanding the assignments.
Yeah, and you
start the play, Craig, flat-footed. Everybody's flat-footed.
Yep.
Okay? You can't play defense flat-footed.
You know what? In fact, that's an interesting point because you know who's a football player? J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt goes full blow every play he possibly can. He knows when to break off assignment and make a tackle. He's not going to turn around and say to you, hey, I was in my zone. I was in my gap.
That's right. The guy has the ball 5 feet from me, but he's not mine, so I can't touch him.
And again, Zimenez has got a lot of talent, but he's evidently not being coached to be a football player. They're worried about assignments all the time. Now, yes, assignments are fundamental. If you blow your assignment, you get beat. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that at some point, you got to be able to know your assignment and be a football player.
Yep.
Tackle the guy with the ball.
Yeah, it's
JPP was a football player. He'd come down the line and
He
make
still
a tackle.
is, yeah.
You know, some of these guys are just football players. Like, this team is not made up of football players, and the coaches are worried about teaching all this strategy and scheme and complexity.
I think they have some players on this team. They just got to coach them up right, put them in the right positions. Okay, you can't have guys thinking too much on the field.
Yeah.
Okay, look what happened the other night with Baker. Okay, he thinks it's a zone. Amari Cooper runs out, cuts in front of him, cuts towards the middle of the field. He lets him go because that's what he's supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
In the zone.
All right,
Somebody's supposed to pick him up.
You know, it's funny you brought that up.
And let me explain the rest of the play.
Yeah, go ahead, because I think you probably are going to.
We did this. We and Bill Barnwell, who's with ESPN now, who's from Football Outsiders, drew it up, and he has a little animated thing on Twitter where you could look at it.
I saw it.
Right. So Corey Ballantyne, another rookie, is in the slot. He follows Randall Cobb straight up the field, which is what he's supposed to do if it's a man situation. Okay, so he's playing man. Baker's playing zone. So Cooper runs straight across the field. He gets the football. The safeties are following Cobb because that's their job in zone when a guy's coming at you and you're the center fielder, right? And here goes Cooper straight across the field. Nobody at home. Nobody at home to pick him up. In for a touchdown. So that's the miscommunication where one guy thinks that they're playing one type of defense and the other guys think they're playing another type of defense.
Yeah. And I looked at it a handful of times because that, like you said, that animation was on Twitter.
Right.
And where I kind of got lost in that play was, so Baker remains in the zone and he hands off Cooper, right?
Yes.
It's a zone. It's a two deep safety zone.
Yes.
And Ballantyne, for whatever reason, you know, and the conversation.
Now Sherman said Ballantyne was at fault.
Well, okay, okay. There's only two things that this could be. All right, so it's a zone, two deep safety. The receiver runs a 9 route, runs a fly right up the center field. Ballantyne sticks with him, right? In this zone with two safeties over the top, he should be handing off that deep route to the two safeties, but he doesn't, okay? So when he basically follows that route deep into the secondary between Bethea and
Michael Thomas was the other guy.
Thomas, exactly, because Peppers was down low picking up the tight end.
Right, Peppers was on Witten on that play. Yeah,
correct. And Ogletree took Zeke out of the backfield, which is his job.
He was shadowing Elliott. Yep. Correct.
And that's something they teach in Pop Warner. First back out of the backfield is a middle linebacker. But where the play kind of gets dicey is if you look at it, Thomas shades inside. Bethea, instead of staying home, Bethea slides in to take the first route that comes through the center. Instead, so he gets caught way inside. So if Baker hands off that route, if Bethea stays home, that route goes right into his wheelhouse and he tattoos the guy. But Bethea went way inside and then Cooper ran right by him.
Right.
Like if he had just stayed home and realized that Ballantyne's there, Michael Thomas is there, I don't need to be in there too. Why would they need 3 guys?
Well,
if Bethea stays home.
Ballantyne, like you said, should have handed off Cobb.
Correct.
To the safeties who are behind him. The deep guys. And he should pick up Cooper coming across the middle.
Exactly. But like you were talking about being a football player, but because he didn't, right? Because Ballantyne went with the man and went with the fly route, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bethea at that point has to realize that he's sticking with the route and he needs to stay home.
He's got to come south.
Yeah, and instead he gets Cooper run right by him. He has no business being on the right side of the field.
Yeah, he wasn't the guy that even made the move. It was Michael Thomas who had to slide over and try to make the tackle. Which
was basically being out of position.
Right,
you know
they're all out of position.
Yeah, because
the only guy who stayed in the right position was Baker.
Yes.
And he's the guy that got blamed.
Yeah, it's not Baker. Baker ran the route as far as he could. At the end of the zone, he handed it off, slid back into the flat. in case Witten popped outside.
Right.
And then you got a problem with Ballantyne not handing it off, and then Bethea getting sucked into the right.
Yeah,
But
so
you
I
run-
even had that wrong at first glance until I looked at that chalkboard animation.
Correct. And it's week 9, and we still can't figure this out.
They can't figure it out either. And Baker was interviewed the other day, and he says he doesn't know his assignment on every play. So he's admitting we're confused, or I'm confused. But it didn't appear that he was confused on that play. So too many mistakes leading to big plays. The Jarwin thing always seems to happen to him with a tight end. Tight end lays dormant, and all of a sudden hits, runs into the empty zone. And if you have a quarterback who holds the ball for 6 seconds, like Prescott, he's going to find him. He found him, running into the empty zone. But, you got to tackle him, and they failed to do that. So that's what was very frustrating. They only scored 18 points. They got in the red zone, 5 times and only scored 1 touchdown? Okay? They scored every time. They scored 1 touchdown, and they kicked 4 field goals.
I don't even know what to say about that.
But you need to score at least 3 out of, if you have 5 opportunities, you need to score 3 times. Right?
It's just amazing that they can't get in the end zone with players like Barkley, Ingram, and Tate.
Yeah, they can't. And it's to me, it's a lot to do with the fact that they're not winning up front, for the run, and the play calls. The play calls are awful. They're just terrible. I mean, look at Tampa Bay when they were in the red zone. Jones actually ran. He said, "You know what? I want to run it. I'm just going to see that empty lane and go for it." And he hasn't done that in a while.
But I mean, man, put the tight end in the flat or throw it in the corner. Like you said before, the jet toss. I mean, anything instead of just running up the middle. Anything.
Well, if you're going to run it up the middle, at least have a fullback in front of you. At least try to get some leverage.
Yeah.
They just don't. I'm at a loss for words. I'm sorry. I'm stuttering here. I have no idea because I'm watching the game and I'm saying to myself, okay, it would be a perfect play, and then you see. The formation, it could only be one thing, like you said, and I'm not a professional defensive coordinator. I'm not Rod Marinelli, who's obviously sees this and says, wow, they buttered our bread on this play. They pretty much mailed us and told us what they were going to do. There's just no creativity there, and they need to get creative.
Oh yeah, when you're 2-7, that's all you got left is creativity, and if you don't have that, you're looking at a 2-14 season if you can't be creative at this point in the season.
I don't think they'll be 2-14. We'll get let's get off this game. It's just giving me agita.
You got the last point I was going to make is part of the issue I think they also have is that. When they are behind the 8 ball or have a 3rd and 5 or a 3rd and 7 is they don't run a play past the sticks. They're still throwing 3-yard and 4-yard passes. I mean, Evan Ingram, 5 games in a row, under 55 yards.
Right.
I mean, Tate goes 6 for 6 and he has 60 yards. Like
not even. He had 46 yards, I think, 48 yards.
They're not stretching the field for one. And 2, when they need a first down, if it's 6 yards, they run a 5-yard route. If it's 9 yards, they run an 8-yard route.
Okay, so they tried a deep pass with Slayton, and it was intercepted. And they never went back to it. Back to it.
At the end of the day, Jason Witten rolls out 5 times in the flat, and he catches the ball. Why can't we do that?
I don't know. I told you, I'm at a loss. I don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. Leonard Williams made his debut the other night.
I thought he played well.
He did okay.
Yeah, I did think he played well. I actually watched him a lot, and that boy's big, and he gets a lot of leverage.
I think he's a pretty good player, but again, they didn't need to trade for him. They don't need him now. They didn't need to trade for him. They didn't need to give up a 3rd-round pick and a 4th-round pick.
No, but you know what's interesting, John? and this is just trying to find a silver lining here for you. Watching him up close, it felt good because he brought a lot of spark to that front. When in the beginning of the game, he was only in on third down. Okay, he wasn't playing first or second down. They bring him in on third down, you automatically saw the difference, the push he gets, and the leverage he commands. Like, it was refreshing. It was like, oh, okay, well, maybe someone's afraid of someone because they're not afraid of Carter, and they're not afraid of Zimenez, and they're not afraid of Tomlinson or Hill. I mean, Dexter, it's a little hard to see him on the, in the interior, but when Leonard Williams came in, like, you could see right away. Like, oh boy, okay, here's the big cat. We need to.
Well, Williams started the first series, and then they started to alternate him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what happened. He started the game, and then they started to put him in the rotation. I think they wanted him out there on the field at the beginning of the game for some reason. Morale, I guess. But the rest of the guys, look at this. Look at the stat sheet. B.J. Hill, 1 tackle. 1.
Yeah, There's something going on there, by the way. Cause
still 9 games into the season, no sacks, no quarterback hits,
nope,
and no tackles for a loss. 9 games.
Yeah, we're never going to figure that out, but there's something going on. There's no way a guy goes from that good last year to that bad this year.
I don't understand it. Tomlinson, if they said we're not going to re-sign him, well, I wouldn't lose any sleep over it.
No, and he is in a contract year.
Yeah, so I wouldn't lose any sleep at all. It's just they're just not impressive. Lawrence has, he's showed flashes, but teams know. We've got a big guy in there. Let's put 3 shoulders on this guy. And they do. The Giants need to put a 4-man front up there, so they can't double some guys.
Hey, John, well, I'm sure you've noticed this, but sometimes this stuff goes under the radar. We have schemes where there are only 2 or 3 rushers.
Dan was talking about this before. A 2-3-6 alignment.
Yep, you bet. That is 100% accurate.
You've got your smallest people on the field.
Yep.
And they run against it. And you wonder why Elliott gets 140 yards.
What was his quote today? It was the
easiest 140 yards I've ever gotten.
Yep.
And he didn't mean that as a disparaging thing. He just said they didn't have anybody there to tackle me. That's all.
Did you hear the stat? He had something like 50 yards before contact.
Yeah.
50 yards before contact.
So there's no bodies. I believe in flooding the line of scrimmage with the biggest, baddest dudes you could find. That's the way I play the game. That's the way I've always watched the game. Okay? Remember the Pittsburgh Steelers? You think they'd ever put a 2-3-6 on the field?
No. Hey, we don't even need to go Steelers. We had Leonard Marshall and Jim Burt and Eric Dorsey.
That's right.
And George Martin and Keith Hamilton. We had some badass guys up front. Those guys battled and tackled. Not like this, whatever we have now.
I don't know what's going on. I can't blame guys that aren't on the field for that. Okay?
It's still scheme. It's still scheme.
It's the Dallas Cowboys. They just paid their running back how much money? $100 million? I don't even know how much they paid him.
Way too much.
They're going to use him. So that means get some people up front. Don't run a 2-3-6 or a 3-3-5. That's not going to help anybody. That's ludicrous. What were they trying to stop with that? What did they think they were going to stop? What did they think the Cowboys were going to do? You've got Ezekiel Elliott. He's got to get certain touches. They want to get him going. That's their offense. Because if they can't get him going, look what happened with the Jets game. The Jets kind of stopped them, right? That's how they lost that game. They had to go to the pass. The Jets throttled Elliott a little bit. And then Leonard Williams talked about that. He says the key is to stop him. And apparently James Betcher was like, well, I don't believe Leonard Williams. I'm not going to believe what he has to say. He might just know what he's talking about. I would have put 5 guys on the line and made them beat me through the air. which they would have done anyway, but at least Elliott would be running free. Their best guy, their highest paid guy. You always follow the money. Whoever's getting paid the most, they got to get the football.
Yep.
Okay? They didn't pay this guy for him to watch. The same thing with guys like Leonard Fournette. They didn't draft that guy with the 4th overall pick to let him sit on the bench and watch. They're giving it to him. Okay? They're going to make you try to stop him. So why are you making it easy on them? Because you're a terrible coach. That's why.
And to add insult to injury, Buchanan had 1 tackle.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay. Now here's what some idiot told me. Tampa Bay let Buchanan go because they had Devin White. I said that makes no sense at all. You don't just, like you said before, you don't let good football players walk. You don't cut them in the middle of the season. They let Deion Buchanan go to Buccaneers. His old head coach from Arizona, Bruce Arians, too, right?
Yep.
And I believe Todd Bowles may have been there when he was there also. I got to look that up. They wouldn't let that guy go unless he couldn't play anymore or do what they needed him to do. That's why he was available. And he sat out on the market for 2.5 weeks.
Yeah,
when they signed him, it was like, oh, it's a big deal. We signed this guy. Really? It's not a big deal you sign somebody that nobody else wants.
I was expecting to see him fly around, and I saw nothing.
No, they're getting like some of the baseball teams, like the Mets would get. They sign a guy. The reason why you sign him because no one else wants him. Okay, yeah. Like when you play in poker and you can't spot the sucker, it's you. Look around the table, the poker table, and you can't spot the dunce. It's you.
All right.
So,
well,
think about it.
So, in case you don't know, you're listening to the Giants guys,
and we're very frustrated. They're playing the Jets this week.
Yep. And John, we're going to do Jets, but there is one main.
We only have about 10 minutes to go.
Yep.
So.
There's one thing I need to tell you. So, as a season ticket holder, you get a lot of information from the Giants, right?
Yes.
And they send you gift packs, in the beginning of the season and so forth. But usually like twice a year, maybe you get a survey, right?
Okay.
Interesting enough, I got a survey today. And the surveys ask pretty much the same kind of questions. They're roughly about how was your experience getting in the stadium and getting out? How was the in-game entertainment? How's the, and they're trying to, stick their toe in the water, see what the temperature's like, right? But part of the survey is about, do you think the team is going in the right direction? And were you happy with what you saw on the field? Is it family friendly and so forth? Right. And I want to say that normally I don't pay it. I do the survey and I don't pay attention, right? I do find it interesting that, again, it could be coincidence. It could be just me looking into it because, like, where I think the team is. I did think it was a little odd that we got it today, because it wasn't like.
No, it's probably a mid-season thing.
It's possible, yeah, it's possible. It just seemed a little interesting, that all of a sudden I had it. Wasn't like. But it's after the Dallas game and not before the Dallas game, right?
No, I think it's either a bye week thing or a mid-season thing.
But see,
it's just a bad week for them to be sending it out. That's all.
Well, I'm just curious because they're going to get a lot of information back that people don't like to hear because there's a problem at MetLife Stadium with the New York Giants that the fans are tired of the stadium being taken over by the opposing team. And it becomes not fan friendly. You're there at a home game with a lot of money invested in these seat licenses, and you're being taunted by the opposing team because there are 2, 3, 4, maybe 5,000 opposing fans taunting you in your home stadium and cheering louder than the Giants fans are. The Giants fans are sick of paying the money and watching a bad product on the field. But there's an issue, and I'm just throwing that out there. It's a bubbling issue. that there's no way that we should be listening to Let's Go Cowboys at a Giants home game. And I want to throw some salt in the wound that I want someone to tell me, and my Twitter's at NY Giants Rush. Someone tell me why the New York Giants wore white uniforms at home. Why in the world would the New York Giants wear white jerseys at home? It's a home game. We should be wearing blue. I don't care what the tradition is for the Cowboys and what they wear at home and what they wear away. There's no reason on God's green earth that the Giants are wearing white jerseys unless we caved. Unless they caved.
Back in the day. First of all, there's two. I'll answer that question in two parts. One, that's their color rush uniform.
I know.
Okay, so we know they have to wear that once a year.
Okay.
So why not choose it to wear it against Dallas, who they always like to wear white against Dallas because they want to make Dallas wear blue.
Yes.
Because Dallas didn't have a good record in blue 35 years ago. So they tried to continue that, but now it doesn't matter. If you remember, the Cowboys, whenever they wore blue, they had their record wasn't. It's only a couple of years. Their record was like 1-6 or something. So the Redskins started to do it, the Eagles started to do it, and the Giants started to do it. And then, of course, it didn't work. After Troy Aikman and those guys got there, it stopped working. But they still want to do it because it's tradition. You're right. I don't really care. I like the uniforms, the 80s uniforms every once in a while.
I like it. It just says to me
if they would play like that team, that'd be even better.
Well, yeah, but it says something else to me. It's back to what you said before about gang tackling and football players. It just reminds me of like Mara just saying, "Hey, Jerry, listen, we're cool with wearing white at home, because we know you wear white at home, so we'll let you wear your blue." Like, it just stinks. The Giants wear blue at home. There's no reason why we weren't wearing blue at home unless the owners said it was okay. And that goes back to what this whole podcast is about, that the Giants organization is in the crapper. Everything has gone out of control. Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells would never let the Giants wear white at home. So
they did because of the jinx. They were trying to jinx them.
Yes, I'm saying in today's age, if there was a hey, can we wear white at home? They'd say no. You know what I mean? Like, it just reminds me of just more like, let's just everybody get along and play football and line our pockets with money instead of giant football tradition.
No, I agree. And this week they're playing an away game against the Jets. The Jets are 1-7, and they happen to beat Dallas. That's their only win, coming off a loss to Miami, who didn't look too bad the last couple of weeks. It looked like they're getting better. People are talking about them tanking. The only way they're tanking is by trading players away. Traded away Laramie Tunsil. They traded away Minka Fitzpatrick. But when they're out on the field, they give 100%. I mean, it's not like they're going through the motions. They look like they want to win, whoever's out there. And the Jets didn't look like they wanted to win at all last week. So, and, the Giants play them. I think they're 2.5-point favorites, the Giants, in this game, because the Jets are just more dysfunctional and more of a mess than they are right now. But this is a game where, the Giants' offense is challenged. The Jets' offense is challenged. I don't know what the score is going to be in this game. 10-7?
Yeah, 12-9.
6-3. I don't know.
Well, if Rojas keeps missing kicks, it will be.
Yeah, this game is awful, and I just wrote an article about 1974 at the Yale Bowl was the only game that Joe Namath ever played against the Giants. Now, I had forgotten about that. And the Jets ended up winning 26-20 in overtime. And they came into the game, the Jets. If you remember, I don't know, you were too young. In the beginning of the 70s, when the Mets had won the World Series, and they were an important team in baseball that could make the postseason, the Jets were scheduled on the road until baseball season was over. And if the Mets were in the World Series, they had to even play on the road after that. So the Jets ended up being – the Mets weren't in the World Series or in the playoffs in 74, but the Jets went 1-7 in the first 8 games. It was only a 14-game season. And the Giants were 2-6 going in that game. Now, the Giants didn't win it, lost that game, didn't win another game the rest of the year. The Jets ended up at 7-7. They came on and won the rest of their games, which is I remember that. It's a very interesting season. Had they won one more game, they would have been in the playoffs. But because they had to play on the road, because the Mets, who weren't even close to being in the postseason, had this thing with the city where the Jets couldn't use the stadium until October. Isn't that interesting? You learn something every day.
I do, and it reminds me of how 30 years later, the Giants and the Jets are still bad.
Yeah. Now they play in the same stadium. It doesn't matter. So they'll be about, I guess, half and half at the stadium this week, if Giant fans even care to go. Jet fans will be there.
Yeah, Jet fans will be there. They're pretty passionate, diehard fans. I mean, you would hope that the Giants, again, I keep hoping that they'll just literally take the governor off, or and just go for it. I'd like to see them win by 4 touchdowns. I'd like to see them just let it hang out there. Not recklessly, but just go out there, blitz and stunt on defense. Yeah. Go out there and run some trick plays. I don't care what it is. I mean, 2 years ago you had OBJ throwing to Barkley. I mean, just there's gotta be something. I mean, listen, Ingram's out again.
Yeah, he won't play this week. He's got a foot injury now.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to sit there.
Is this the third time he's been out this year?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I mean, he's as dynamic as it comes, but I hate to say it, he's made of glass. I mean, so I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's the doctors are shutting these guys down.
Yeah, they are. Sure. Absolutely. But, this particular game, everyone's like, oh, they have to win it. I'm like, it doesn't matter if they win or lose this game. It doesn't matter to the Jets or them. This game is completely meaningless. They shouldn't even televise it.
That's funny. You're probably right there.
No, it's meaningless. Who cares?
We
want to win. We want to have bragging. Bragging rights that another team in New York is worse than you. You're bad, and they're worse. Yeah, nobody's good here. Nobody's good.
No, that's all true. The only thing that you get out of this weekend is you get a monkey off your back, and you to be around the complex or the building. It's a little bit more pleasant for a short period of time.
You win a game, yeah.
Yeah, because when they lose, it continues to spiral. Players don't want to play. Veterans don't, put any effort in, a la Jack Rabbit.
No.
So if you win and everybody makes a couple plays, winning makes people feel better, and then you just get better output. You know what I mean? I get it. Bragging rights mean nothing. Nothing here means anything except for maybe you can potentially get this team to be a little bit better than they are. Maybe, by trying some new things. But if it's wash, rinse, and repeat again, I hope they lose by 40.
Yeah, I think there's Giant fans out there that are saying, you know what? We want to see a change. This change that Gettleman's talking about, change of culture, change of results, isn't working. And there's a lot of fans out there who are just saying, so what if they lose? If they lose, that'll bring on, maybe they'll make the right changes. Maybe. But I don't think this organization has the ability anymore to make the right change. They don't have Ernie Accorsi around anymore. They don't have George Young around. Okay, and Gettleman is cut from that cloth, but to me, I don't know, he makes some moves that are very curious to me. The Leonard Williams move is still baffling me. Why would you want to bring this guy in now?
See,
why would you want to trade? Why would you do? Nobody else was doing that. You were actually bidding against yourself. You could have said, we're just going to give you a 2021 pick. We're not even going to give you that 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
Why? Nobody else wanted him. Nobody else makes trades like this. It's dumb.
It is dumb, and he's definitely not. His track record's not great with free agency and on the trade block, but I'm more or less like stuck in this scenario that the drafts have been so good compared to Jerry Reese that I kind of give Gettleman a pass on this other stuff. I'm not saying that's right, and I'm not saying you have to believe in it, but all I want is a dynamic, aggressive football staff that knows how to win or knows how to challenge teams. I mean, I see nothing out of Betcher. I see nothing out of Shula. Right. And then when I bring Shula up, everyone's like, Shula doesn't matter. It's all about Shermer. And maybe that's true, too. I don't necessarily
they all
agree.
matter.
Yeah. If Shermer stays...
Some guy sent me an email today. He says, how come you're not calling for Hal Hunter, the offensive line coach, to be fired? Well, you know, I pretty much sent them back an email saying you can't make chicken salad out of chicken you-know-what.
Yep.
So he doesn't have much to work with. Solder is done. If you ask me, the guy's finished.
Yeah.
Remmers is still, you know, he's a stiff. You know, he's a tough guy and everything, a good guy, but, you know, he's a backup, man.
Yeah. And
he's
again,
backup players.
But here's the thing. Let's just say all that's true, right? It's kind of like if I'm going to a gunfight and I've only got one gun, I'm not going to walk right into the corral and get shot. I'm going to figure out a way to sneak around the back and shoot you in the back of the head.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know, that's probably a terrible analogy.
It sure is.
Yeah, you know, but
don't mention shooting on a Giants podcast because you know, some of these people are on the edge.
That's true. Well, it was an Old West analogy I was trying to make. But the point is that if we don't have the personnel, what do? You compensate, you teach, and you coach up. I mean, it's just a fact. David and Goliath, right? Mm-hmm. If you cannot win head on or straightforward, you figure out another way. Bill Belichick does it the best. Oh, I don't got a speed burner. I'll beat you underneath. I don't got a sack artist. I'll send corners and safeties. Right. Like we're literally just saying, hey, we're going to just do the best we can with what we have. We're going to just come right at you. We know it's not going to work, but we're going to try hard. That's not good enough. Shermer's not good enough. This scheme is not good enough. It's not fair to the fans, the organization, and the players. You need to come up with something that allows the team to compete. And what they're doing right now is not competing. It's going through the motions. Julian Love is still not on the field.
Nope.
I mean, it's literally, it is like we need an investigation. Why this kid can't get on the field? Why can he not get on the field?
I don't know.
Unless
I don't even know. I've been trying to figure it out myself. I've been asking people. Well, he's not a corner, and he's really not that good of a safety, so he's not good. Is that what you're telling me? He's not good. So all of those plays he made at Notre Dame, we just imagined them.
Oh, and by the way, he was like a runner-up for the Thorpe Award.
That's
right. I mean, come on.
Which DeAndre Baker won.
Yes. Come on, man. At least if he's no good, let's see it in true color.
All right, I wrote about Baker. I said, look, when you have a kid like Baker, he is a cover corner. Let him cover. Let him play man. Don't put him in zone.
Yeah.
Don't put him in nickel. Don't put the fish out of water. What are you doing?
Yep.
It's like making Lawrence Taylor an offensive lineman. Go out there, play offensive line. We don't care if you're a linebacker.
Yep.
Just do what we need you to do. No.
The theme of
you
this
gave up 3 draft picks for this kid because he was a Darrelle Revis type. He was not as good as Darrelle Revis, of course. But that's what he was. He's a sticky corner. Let him stick.
Yeah, Charles Woodson.
Yeah.
And that's the theme is like, okay, we're going to play the Jets and we're going to put our best foot forward. Like changes need to be made. They need to come up with a hey, let's try this type of attitude. I'm so tired. And by the way, if you listen to Shermer, he's complaining about the boom mic technician.
That's ridiculous.
That Jones ran into. Meanwhile,
that guy's just standing there doing his job. He was there the whole game.
Yeah, and by the way, let's not worry about what happened, as he got pushed out of bounds because that play was flagged. Maybe you should be worried about the tattooing your quarterback's getting on the field.
Right.
I mean, what happened on that play? A was penalized, so it was taken care of, and it was
the
accident.
hit wasn't penalized.
No, the after effect, whatever, the taunting and
then
all that other stuff.
Hernandez came in and pushed. That was Xavier Woods. He pushed him, and then Woods threw a punch, and that's what got flagged. The hit was legal because he started to push Jones while he was still in bounds.
Yep.
But
Which
Jones
was
went
bogus.
flying into the boom mic, like you said, the big bubble boom,
Yep.
and hit his head. Obviously, it was a nasty hit, but
And-
still,
And
why is he
Shermer
complaining
thinks-
about that?
Yeah, and Shermer thinks that's the conversation that we should be having. It should be, okay.
The conversation should be Jones should be getting out of bounds before Woods gets to him.
Or how about this? I'm putting my rookie quarterback in harm's way. He's he's second in the league in fumbles. We need to take care of ball security. He's fourth in the league at sacks. We're going to have to roll him out or max coverage with a tight end.
Yep.
We're going to do a better job to protect our rookie quarterback.
Max protect. I don't
Yeah.
think he needs max protect, but I just okay. We got about 2 minutes, so make one last point so we can get out of here.
Shermer's not going to get fired midseason.
He's not going to get fired next year either.
And there's a chance he doesn't get fired next year. But there's no way that these coordinators last. Someone has to go. NYGiantsRush.com. Plenty of good content up there. Hope you guys are enjoying the site. Always can find me on Twitter at NYGiantsRush. Everyone's on board, though, John. I will tell you, everyone has been on board with, about this pointing to the lack of coaching and the lack of strategy and scheme. Yep. There's a handful of players that the people are pointing out, like Ogletree and Jenkins. They're getting kind of baked, and Solder's getting baked. But the rest of the team is just basically throwing
I don't blame Solder for anything. I mean, the guy was never a Pro Bowler in New England. They're the ones who made him a rich man and put him at left tackle. Nobody else did. He didn't ask for that, or maybe his agent did.
Yeah.
He was the only option. Can't help it if he's over the hill.
Yeah, he was the only option we had.
Don't put him out there.
Well, otherwise we'd still have Flowers.
Yeah, who apparently is playing very well in Washington. If you can believe that.
No, I don't believe it. No offense.
I don't believe it either because we don't get to see a lot of Redskin games, but apparently they love him. Bill Callahan loves him.
So my question I'll put out there then, if this is my final moment, is who are the candidates for next year if it did happen? Or OC? Are you bringing in Shanahan as an OC? Or are you bringing in
which Shanahan?
The one that just got fired. Not Shanahan.
Not Shanahan.
What do you call it? From the Redskins that just got fired. Not Shanahan.
Oh, Gruden. Not Gruden. Jay Gruden.
Jay Gruden, yeah. Shanahan just came out because I was thinking about Kyle
Mike Shanahan. No, Mike's not coming back.
No, I was thinking
I'd take Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah. Anybody would take Kyle Shanahan right now. But no, Jay Gruden, offensive coordinator, or Del Rio as your defensive coordinator. There's some guys out there that might fit the mold. So
I don't think Jay Gruden and Jack Del Rio are going to want to be coordinators anymore.
Maybe not.
No, I mean guys like that. You mean?
Yeah. Well, no. I listen. No one's after what happened with Gruden and all the stuff that's. If the key still works in the door, I'll coach. He's either broadcasting next year or he's being a coordinator. There's no way anybody's putting him behind the bench.
He's a coach by nature. We know that. You're right. So he may still have the bug, and if he says I can't get a head gig, I'll take a coordinator gig, and he'd be pretty good at it too.
Yeah.
I like Jay Gruden a lot, but I don't know if he could be head coach of the Giants.
No, and I'm talking about as the offensive coordinator.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. That seems like it's such a. I don't know. That doesn't seem like a fit, and I don't think Jack Del Rio is coming in.
Well, I'm just saying we need guys
that. Steve Spagnuolo's still coaching, and he's in Kansas City after some of the defensive debacles he's been in charge of. Well, you know that Steve Spagnuolo has coached 3 of the worst defenses in NFL history.
Yeah.
And the Giants were one of them.
Well, yeah.
It's the Saints, the Giants, and the Rams.
He's also won Super Bowls.
That's right. And now he's, going to be in the playoffs again. So he's a good coach, but sometimes guys are just in bad situations.
Yeah, so that's all I got for you. We
That's
hope that, it's a better week next week.
All right, folks. Well, thanks for listening. Until next time, it's the Giant Guys, and hopefully we'll have some positive news for you. Thanks for listening again.